What's up, y'all? What's going on, man? I need to have a quick conversation with y'all. A little bit of an abbreviated episode of Real Estate with a Real One. Let's talk. Um, there's been a lot of discussion around rentals, affordable housing, etc. Right? So this particular conversation here, real quick, is talking about, in my opinion, how we fix the issues. Right? The thing that tenants and landlords need to understand is that in order for this thing to work long term, tenants and landlords need each other. One is not important than the other. Let me explain. So we have an affordable housing issue, right? I would love to play with the semantics of, the real estate community or the government stepping in to fix it. And I've heard conversations of things that people, at least locally, are trying to do to address some of those things, right? And I respect it, but we got to learn how to fix things ourselves as people. In my opinion, a lot of the housing that is provided by mom and pop investors. Now, when I say mom and pop investors, I don't mean that as an insult. I mean somebody that's getting up every day, blue collar job, white collar job, working hard, trying to prepare themselves for retirement, and they decide to buy a property and fix it up and rent it out as a means of saving for retirement. Right? That's your investor base. Of course, you're gonna have a lot of the wealthy folks doing their stuff. I'm talking about your core investor, right? So it's a relationship that has to be nurtured in order for us to have more affordable housing. So, for an example, from a landlord's perspective, right? As a landlord, you gotta fix your property up to a livable standard. You know, make sure you get all your licenses to be able to rent the property. Make sure you have the property inspected by the city, and make sure that it's in a livable condition, right? And then you can do stuff like buy a home warranty on the house or so on and so forth to keep the condition up, because you want to provide a healthy and safe living environment for your tenant. For the tenant, right, you have a duty of communication, right? So your responsibility is, if there's issues with the property, to communicate them effectively to the landlord. When it comes time for your rent to pay your rent and pay it on time. And if you can't pay it on time and something comes up, develop a reasonable arrangement that you can make, right? Like, I'm gonna pay you when I get it isn't a reasonable arrangement, right? A reasonable arrangement, in my opinion, is saying, hey, such and such happened with my car, my money's a little bit tight, but how about this? I'll pay, half today and half my next pay period. And based off of whatever monies I have coming in, I'll be on time with my next month's rent payment. But come in and treat each other in a positive manner, and it's going to allow for a better result. Because the way that we have more affordable housing, in my opinion, is that the more people that go outside and say, hey, I ain't rich, but I can buy one little house, fix it up nice, make it nice and clean, and put a tenant in it and give them a nice place to rent. That's how we get away from affordable housing, right? And I've seen these situations work. So a year ago, one of my clients sold a rental property that she had here in Baltimore City, and she just wanted to kind of sort of get out of the game. She moved out of state, didn't want to do any of that anymore. She wanted to just be retired. And it was perfect because her tenant of 10 years decided to move. Like, I guess they wanted to buy a house or whatever. Long story short, no, I'm sorry, I take that back. The tenant's husband lost his job. So they had to downsize in house. They had to get something a lot smaller, um, just to, afford the rent, so on and so forth, right? And what I loved about the scenario was, these folks lived in this property that my client had for 10 years. They might have been late 5 times, right? Never, always communicated about issues. My client, the landlord, always got stuff fixed. They always had amicable conversations about things they were going through. So in this scenario, they came and said, listen, man, we had a 10-year run. We love you. My husband lost his job because of the pandemic. We got to scale back significantly on our living situation. So we're coming to you now while we're still like up to date and paid up for another month, to let you know that we can't afford to stay here anymore. And what my client did, which shows how the relationship connects, my client said, listen, y'all been good to me for 10 years. Five late payments in 10 years is immaculate from a payment history. Let's just end the lease right now. Y'all ain't got to pay me nothing else. Whatever you guys have paid me to this point, that's fine. I'm gonna give y'all 30 days or so to take your time to get your stuff out of the property. I'm sorry this is happening to you. And hey, if there was a way that I had it financially where I could let y'all stay there for some months and eat the bill myself, I would, but I don't got it like that. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna probably end up selling the property. And to me, that was a great example of how if we can get more good landlords and more good tenants, we can fix the affordable housing situation, because you're going to have more people that's going to want to buy these properties and do things on the up and up in terms of getting the property taken care of. And then you're going to have a larger pool of tenants that has the best interest of the home available. Like they have the best interest in making sure that the property's taken care of and kept up while they're living there. And I think it can't be overstated how important that is. And I understand that, everybody doesn't want to buy a house and so on and so forth. And I get it. But I want you to understand where the industry is moving, right? If you're someone that just feels like for whatever reason home ownership is not for you, that's okay. In order to survive, you're going to have to ensure that your income over a 1, 2, 5 year period is drastically increasing consistently. Because I can tell you right now, with all the money that property management companies and landlords lost during the pandemic, some of it because of their mistakes and some of it because of the fact that there were folks that could have been paying their rent and weren't paying their rent, folks are going to make that money back that they lost. And yes, I'm saying this because I'm not pro landlord or pro tenant. I'm pro good business, right? And I want to have this conversation with y'all because I think sometimes people feel like every landlord is some sort of wealthy property manager. Yeah, there's definitely slumlords out here, 100%. But there's also some good, hard-working people that's providing a good product and just wants good business, right? And I know, and trust me, the pool, I know a ton of good landlords. And what's crazy is I can't really help people get into their properties because they don't lose their tenants. So good landlords exist, as do good tenants. But in order to achieve this thing and move forward past some of these issues long term, that's what we got to do. And if things don't change soon in terms of the habits between tenants and landlords on both sides, whether you have a true interest in buying a home or not, you're going to end up having to. All right. Y'all be blessed.